imagine there aren't a lot of Israelis and Jews who agree with me that the Israeli government, which is a hard-right government, Smodrich and Ben-Gvir are not just right-wing, they're absolute far-right headbangers.
But meaning what? Meaning what? They haven't.
Meaning what? They want to ethnically cleanse the Palestinian people. Come on, Dave, they do.
They're in the government and they haven't taken an extra inch of the West Bank. They haven't. They're not.
Well, actually, that's not true.
They haven't.
They've been expanding settlements left, right, and centre.
They haven't.
Yes,
Piers,
they have.
Piers, they
you
haven't.
know they have.
Piers, have you been to the West Bank?
You don't think
have
there's
you been to
any
the West
expansion
Bank?
of settlements on the West Bank?
They build apartments. They build apartments in current places.
Has there been an aggressive expansion of settlements in the West Bank during this war?
An aggressive expansion of settlements
in the West Bank during this war?
No, 100% not.
Dave, there has been.
Would you say it's a square mile?
Have there been an expansion of settlements in the West Bank? I think there have. Piers Morgan switched his stance. Early on, he was very much on one side. He seems to be on the other now. Happy New Year, by the way. We're talking Palestine. If you want to get involved, the number is in the title. You can send me a WhatsApp voice note and I will play it if you want.
I don't know the territory. I just know there's been aggressive expansion of settlements.
But that's just, I mean, Piers, that's just.
But again, this is the problem. Okay, so here's the problem.
Have you been there?
So here's the problem.
Have you been there? I know people will love that on the internet.
You say none of this has happened.
Yeah.
You see everything to the prism of, there's nothing to see here, Gus.
No.
Israel has done no wrong.
No.
Have they done any wrong?
I don't know how to conduct a war exactly,
but
I know that if
it's not my question. Has the Israeli government done anything wrong in the way they prosecuted this war?
Not that I know of.
So that's the thing.
They're desperately trying to.
Okay, so you have a position.
In an existential war, you do what you have to do for your people.
Okay.
As I think is exactly what you would demand of your government.
Well, except that when my government went to war in Iraq, for example, I led the campaign against it, and I was proven right. I think it's more complicated.
But that's a war across the world where there were no British people being hidden under the ground.
This war didn't start on October the 7th. This is a conflict that's been on for 7 decades. That's why I compare it, actually, to the war that was conducted between, say, the IRA and the British government.
Well, your government did 75 years ago offer the Palestinians a state for the first time because, as you know, the Palestinians never had a state. It was the British mandate.
I think the whole way it was organized at the start was deeply flawed. But I also read a very interesting piece by a guy called Jonathan Friedland. He's a British Jewish journalist who said he could have written 2 columns about what happened in 1947, 48, 49. He said, and one would have been very pro-Israel and one would have been very pro-Palestinian, and he said that as a Jewish journalist. So that was an interesting perspective, is that I've heard both sides argue passionately, but the crux of the combined debate is that it was very badly handled. It should have been handled a lot better. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were displaced from their homes, but also hundreds of thousands of Israelis and Jewish people, as they were then, but obviously became part of Israel, were displaced from their homes in the region. So there was a lot of displacement of people's lives, uprooting of people's lives going on.
Sure.
And a lot of enforced things by countries like Britain. You will do it this way. I think it could have been handled a lot better. Then a lot of the trouble could have been avoided.
Piers Morgan, he's changed his tune. Why do you think Piers Morgan changed his views on Palestine? Was he paid by someone? Were you surprised that he took a pro-Israel stance in the beginning? Slay Queen Marie says, what am I watching? Well, you're watching YouTube. What do you want to be watching? This is a clip of Piers Morgan, the great British journalist who was against the war in Iraq, and it's something he's very proud of. He always mentions the fact that he led the campaign against the war in Iraq, apparently. Him and many other people. Dr. Akash is saying, hi. Hello, doctor. What kind of doctor are you? Are you a medical doctor? I need a bit of medical advice. If you're a real doctor, you can probably hear from my voice I'm a little bit ill. I've lost my voice. I think I've caught COVID-26. Can't believe it. I'm starting the year not very well. That was Piers Morgan. We've got a couple of other clips to watch. Here's Gary Lineker and Zack Polanski. Gary always been on the side of the Palestinians. Let's have a listen to him.
I do want to ask you about Palestine and what's happening in Gaza, and any reflections on that, and what you hope to see in 2026.
I hope to see proper peace. Not, I mean, obviously, we've got a ceasefire, but it's not really a ceasefire at the moment. They just seem to be carry on, not quite to the extent, but there's, people are being killed every day, and not just in Gaza, in the West Bank as well. So I mean, it's obviously
good knowledge from Gary there. Not just in Gaza, also the West Bank. It sounds like he's done his homework on the issue.
Spoken about this quite a bit, and I look at my phone every day, and I cry most days when I see it. I mean, innocent kids being just killed, like snipers and bombs, and I mean, it's just immeasurably wrong.
What do you think the disconnect is? That the response you gave me just seems so totally obvious. Like, it almost feels ridiculous that we have to say that children dying, or in fact anyone dying who's innocent, is wrong. Yet we do have politicians who seem to be turning away from it.
I find it extraordinary, really. I think most of the world sees it for what it is. It's so difficult to understand how this is happening and how it's been allowed to happen. Right. Obviously, October the 7th was horrendous. We know that, but we also know that it didn't start on October the 7th. It started a long, long time ago, and these poor people have been basically living in an outdoor prison in Gaza, where they can't go in, they can't go out, the water's controlled, the electricity's controlled, all these sort of things. Life is very difficult, and of course Israel has the right to defend itself, but then why doesn't Palestine have the right to defend itself? It doesn't. And then the subsequent treatment we've seen, and I know people will disagree with this and they try and make an argument, but I always say to them, if you genuinely think this is kind of fabricated, let journalists in.
Right.
Obviously there's lots of journalists in Palestine in there, but hundreds of them have been killed. But let neutral journalists in. I mean, obviously, until they do that, they can argue all they like, but it's very difficult to believe them, and because of the fact they won't let journalists in.
And I think we're back to a lot of what this conversation's been actually around podcasting and news, that if people are told the stories, and they're told the stories in an accurate way, and they have that access to information, that's one of the most powerful tools you can have.
Totally. I'll go back to the truth argument, truth over impartiality or partiality. So it goes back to truth.
Okay, that was Gary Lineker. A couple of comments to go through. Fry from 98, I'll put it up on the screen for you, says, give the, and then he's got the Israel flag, Palestine, and gift out of USA flag. Right. Fry from has got the Turin Shroud as his or her picture. So I take it you're coming at it from a strongly Christian perspective. In fact, your next comment, the Holy Land belonged to Christ and his church, not Jew or Arab. Okay. When you say the Holy Land belonged to Christ, what does that look like? What do you want the Holy Land to look like? Do you want it to be a majority Christian country? It would have been at some point. Now it's, if you look at historic Palestine from the river to the sea, you've got a mix of Jewish people, Muslim people, Christian people. There's Druze in there. There's Baha'i people also live there. There's many different religions that live in the Holy Land. Why must one dominate another? But you've got your views, and that's all right. Dr. Akash, who we don't know what kind of doctor he is yet, was saying about the Hindus. You also play the persecution of Hindus in Bangladesh. As an atheist, I'm not supporting any kind of innocent in the name of religion. Okay. And We've got Sammy in the comments. Love Gary. I take it you're talking about Gary Lineker. Yeah, Gary Lineker, a proud Englishman, represented his country at the top level of world football, and he coming out strongly in favour of Palestine. Here's another comment from Fry from 98. I want America to be a non-Jewish country. Well, America is a majority Christian country. Officially, they separate the church and the state, don't they? Because it was founded by Christians that were persecuted and left England on the Mayflower. Was it the Mayflower? They fled religious persecution, so they wanted to set up a country that wouldn't be any particular religion or denomination, but on the money it does say, in God we trust. Some people say that they worship money as if it were a god, but the point of America was that it wouldn't be one particular religion, although they would be God-fearing and spiritual. Fry from is saying, when crusade pop off in UK, I will come help fight. Where are you, Fry from? Where would you be flying in from? And Optimus is saying, we are a Christian country, and you've got the American flag there, so I assume you're talking about America being a Christian country. Well, what do you mean by Christian country? I just watched another video from Speaker's Corner with the Muslim debating a Christian on whether or not England or the UK is a Christian country, and the Muslim was arguing that it's not. Although he said he hoped that it would be, he'd prefer it if it were a Christian country. But in his eyes, England's not a Christian country. Well, England, the Church of England, the head of the church is the king. So the head of state is the head of the church. How much more of a Christian country can you get than that? And our friend Fry from is telling us, I am 10th generation American in Idaho. Wow, you can trace your family for 10 generations. Amazing. Where were they before that, Fry from? Where do you hail from? Are you a Italian American or an Irish American? What type of an American are you? Optimus is saying, whatever religion you are, that's your prerogative. You can't go trying to push your religion off on anybody else. Our country is a Christian nation. If you don't like it, leave. Well, I'm not in America, so I can't leave. But is it a Christian nation, or is it just a majority Christian nation? And what direction is that going in? I know the UK is officially a Christian country. As I said, the head of state is the head of the church. But the fastest growing religion or religious belief in the UK is atheism or secularism, not being religious, not following any particular religion. That is the majority religious perspective in the UK. And Fry from apparently originally hails from Austria. Wow. Have you preserved any of your Austrian culture, Fry from? Can you still speak? Presumably your ancestors would have spoken the German language. Apparently German was very prevalent in the US at one point. It was almost going to be the main language rather than English. But of course English has overtaken now, and Spanish is rapidly increasing in the US. One day Spanish might be the majority language in the US. Imagine that. And Dr. Akash is saying, why people mad about their religious hypothesis? Yeah, look, no one really knows. Any religious faith is just that. It's a faith. You're putting your faith in your creed, in your ideology, and you're praying that you're correct. Optimus is saying, that's my point. People need to just stay out of other people's business. and not try to push their views off on other people. Live your life, but don't infringe on other people. Yes, you go your way, I go mine. You have your religion, I have mine. That is a good philosophy to have. And Freifrom is saying, which only the triune God of Orthodox Christianity can coherently account for and ground. That's interesting. So Freifrom, you're a 10-generation American, which is a Christian country apparently. Your ancestors came from Austria, which is a majority Catholic country, but you seem to be Orthodox Christian, even though your picture, the Turin Shroud, is regarded as a Roman Catholic relic. Turin, of course, is in Italy, but you're talking about the triune God. Triune, tri meaning three, un, uno meaning one, three in one. This is the concept of the Trinity, which some people struggle to get their head around. How could three be one? How could God, who is one, be three? The Quran advises the Christians, the people of the book, do not say three. Do not say three. But if you're saying triune, Trinity, are you saying three or are you saying one? It's not clear what you're saying. And I think there are many Christian people who do believe in only one God. And when they say Jesus is the Son of God, I don't think all of them mean it in a literal sense. Because of course in the Bible there are many other figures who are also mentioned as being sons of God. Even the meek, are they not said they will be called sons of God? A lot of Hispanic people, this is from Optimus, a lot of Hispanic people that live here in the US are Christians as well. Most of them that are legally here do not bother anyone. Okay, so there. Yes, I mean Hispanic people would be majority Roman Catholic, wouldn't they? And you seem to be all right with that. Freifrom is expanding on the Trinity. There is three persons who are one God. Okay. And Sam Kilshaw is saying Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Yeah, Holy Ghost, some people say Holy Spirit. And we've got another comment. Imminent collapse. Look out for your enemy. Turn the cheek, love everyone, but they still line up for war. Yes, turn the other cheek, the great message of forgiveness from Jesus, as mentioned in the New Testament. Charlie Chiampa is claiming the Quran. One of the writers was German. Really? That's not what I've heard, but we'll have to get some evidence for that. And Sam Kilshaw is saying, shouldn't be wars in 2025. Well, it's 2026, Sam. It's the first day of the year. Happy New Year. We're in 2026, not 2025. So let's have no more wars in 2025. I don't want a war. There's a great Polish rap song. I'll find the video one day where the rapper talks about I don't want a war. It's a brilliant message of peace. Imminent collapse is saying the Trinity was brought into being by Emperor Constantine at Nicaea to unite the divided Roman Empire. It's not a biblical teaching, it's a human one. Yes, you can't find it spelled out in the Bible. The word Trinity is not in the Bible. But then again, you won't find the word Tawheed, oneness of God, mentioned specifically in the Quran, but you will find the concept explained, but the word is not there. Shall we listen to Benjamin Netanyahu, if we must?
You are representatives of the Christian Zionists who made Jewish Zionism possible. It's hard for me to conceive the emergence of the Jewish state, the re-emergence of the Jewish state, without the support of Christian Zionists in the United States, also in Britain, but the main thrust was in the United States in the 19th century. So Christian Zionism facilitated the rise and success of Jewish Zionism. And it's been an enormous partnership since then. I've known some of you. Mike, how long have we known? Since we were teenagers, something like that? A long time.
46 years.
46 years, since we were a little more than teenagers. But I can say that we have no better friends, and I mean that sincerely. You have stood by us through thick and thin, and now we're challenged by new challenges, but equally with new opportunities. We've fought, as you know, a seven-front war, and we've come out in many ways victorious. But there's an eighth front, and that's the front for the hearts and minds of people, especially young people in the West, and for me, especially in the United States, and for me, especially on the conservative wing of the United States. And I think it's not just Israel's battle. I think it's our common Judeo-Christian civilizational battle, and I think we have to engage in that battle as forcefully, with as much resolution as we engage the other seven fronts. I think it affects not only Israel, it affects America, it affects our alliance, it affects the future of Western civilization. And I don't think I'm exaggerating one bit. I have here my colleagues, Israel's ambassador to the United States, to the United Nations, our consul general in New York, our consul general in Miami, and every one of my delegation. We feel that this is a theater that has to be engaged with great force. Who's to engage in us in this? It's us. It's you and us. And we have to, we have to be, I think we have to stand up and be counted. They have to hear our voice. There are some people who believe that, that faith should be silent and terrorism should be understood. No. Faith should speak its voice, and terrorism should be confronted, not understood, confronted and defeated. And that is what we're engaged in right now. So I want you to know that I spoke with President Trump yesterday. I said this publicly too. I see the battle against us and the battle against our Judeo-Christian tradition basically being waged around the globe. And it's waged primarily by two forces, radical Shiite Islam and radical Sunni Islam. That means the axis that is led by Iran, much battered, admittedly, but still there, and the axis, the Sunni axis, led by the Muslim Brotherhood, which permeates everything. They go to Europe, they go to the United States, they go to Africa, Nigeria. And we are conscious of the fact that Christians are being persecuted across the Middle East, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Nigeria, in Turkey, and beyond. And we're also aware of the fact, as you are, that one country protects the Christian community, enables it to grow, defends it, and makes sure that it thrives. And that country is Israel. There is no other. None. We are joining an effort to have basically a United Nations of countries that support Christian communities around the world, beleaguered communities who deserve our help. Just as you are helping us, we want to help back, and we're capable of doing that. In Africa with intel, in the Middle East with a lot of means that I won't itemize each one. But this is what our agenda is. It's the main part of our agenda, and it's going to continue with greater force and greater might in this coming year. I want to use this opportunity to wish you all, well, it's kind of late for a Merry Christmas, but a belated Happy Christmas, and not a belated, and on time, a Happy New Year. May it be a year of prosperity, peace, and security for all of us, but especially for the Christian communities around the world. So thank you, and Happy New Year to all of you, and thank you.
So that's Benjamin Netanyahu cozying up to the Christians and talking about this Judeo-Christian alliance. They often talk about the Judeo-Christian civilization. Don't know what you think about that in the comments, whether there's anything in common. I'd say there's more in common between the Muslims and the Christians if both the Muslims and the Christians believe in Jesus, although they disagree about his status. But there's certainly something in common with all three, isn't there? Do they not all believe in one God? Although some people in the comments are talking about whether it's 3 in 1 or 1 in 3, I don't know. But let's try and find some common ground, for God's sake. Poland saved Europe from Islam, apparently. That's from KU8A. When was that, KU? I know that the Ottoman Empire got as far as Vienna. People often talk about the gates of Vienna, but isn't that down in Austria? When was Islam knocking on the door of Poland? I didn't know there was ever any conflict between Poland and any Muslim empire or civilization, but correct me if I'm wrong. I would love to be informed. And we've got another comment. This is from Imminent Collapse. JC Baptism, Yahweh said from heaven. Okay, so Yahweh is the name of God in the Old Testament. This is my son, the beloved. Listen to him. Not everyone saying, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom. Those doing the will of my Father will. Okay, thy will be done, as Jesus said in the Lord's Prayer. And yes, it does say in the Bible, this is my beloved son. But what I'm asking you, are there any other characters in the Bible? David, for example, was he ever referred to as a son of God? Was anybody else referred to by that title, Son of God? Does it mean literally that this person was fathered by the Creator? Or is it just a title? Because if other people are called Son of God, not just Jesus, then it kind of changes things a little bit, doesn't it? We've got a comment from Fryfrom. Hebrew tribes lost bloodline when temple fell. These Jew are pretender. Okay, so where are the real Hebrews then, Fryfrom? Jewish people claim lineage from the tribe of Judah, and there were 12 tribes, 12 Hebrew tribes. Hebrew meaning the ones that crossed over. And if you trace it far enough back, as someone's mentioned in the title, Abraham was from Ur in Iraq. So technically Israel should have Iraqi DNA. Okay, maybe. Look, if you go back far enough, Iraq was a huge civilization at the time. I'm sure a lot of us have got DNA from Iraq. But yes, when people talk about the Holy Land being the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people, their ancestor Abraham was in Iraq, and he went to the Holy Land, the Promised Land. If you go back far enough, we all came from somewhere else. If you go back far enough, we all came from Africa, although some people actually dispute that. There's differences of opinion. Niket is saying, yes, he was Chaldean. Yeah, Chaldea is modern day Iraq, and you do get Chaldean Christians from Iraq. Tariq Aziz, the second in command under Saddam Hussein, was a Chaldean Christian. So the name is still alive. Imminent collapse is saying the Ten Commandments forbid symbols. So technically David didn't have a star, and that is a Kabbalah symbol, but also Christianity uses cross as idols as well. Yeah, do you consider using a cross as a symbol, an idol? I mean, it's hardly a picture, is it? But it's some kind of, what could you say? It's a representation of the religion. Imminent collapse is saying, Jesus says, the dead are aware of nothing, asleep in death, awaiting the last day. So why do pastors preach everyone goes to heaven when they die? It's not the last day. That's a good question. I believe in Islam it's said on the Day of Judgment, mankind will stand like the teeth of a comb. Everyone will be the same and will be judged on that day. So where you're going to end up is not going to happen until the end of time. But look, if you believe in God, God is outside time, isn't he? He is not confined to our dimensions. Is another imminent collapse. You're on fire tonight. Yes, in Job, the beginning, it says the sons of God, plural, entered and took their stations before God, including Satan. That's when Satan challenged God's authority to rule. So this is the idea in the Bible. Satan is an angel. In the Quran, he is a jinn. Not the same, but similar. Muhammad Omar is claiming that the Torah says something about Jesus. That's not the Torah, Muhammad Omar. That's the Talmud that you're referring to. But I've also heard people explain that that's referring to a different historical Jesus. I've heard that one explained. So I don't know. I can't say that for sure. BM is saying there is no judgment day. Okay, well if he's right, we'll never know, I suppose. Jaydullah is saying, what is this place? And he's also asking, what are you even rambling about? That's a bit rude, Jaydullah. What are you rambling about, son? We're just having a little bit of a discussion as it's the new year. We watched a video from Piers Morgan. We watched Zack Polanski, and we've just watched Benjamin Netanyahu cozying up to the European leaders and emphasizing this Judeo-Christian alliance. So we're just delving into that a little bit. If you've got something more interesting to say or talk about, you feel free. The number is there. You could send a voice note and we could play it out loud and all have the benefit of your wisdom. Richard is saying, what is this all about? Well, we're having a bit of a discussion. Freedom of speech. Freedom of expression. Mateus is mentioning it's the Talmud that says that about Jesus. Yeah, and look, the Talmud, from what I've read, it's not all authoritative. Much of it is dismissed, but it's a huge, huge collection of many different opinions and analysis of the holy writings from the time. So it doesn't mean that if something is in the Talmud that is something that every Jewish person believes in. It's just an opinion of a scholar from 1,000 years ago or whenever it was written. Imminent Collapse saying, you're awesome. Got to go, but love everyone. Thank you very much, Imminent Collapse, and a very happy new year to you. We're wishing you the best for 2026. There was a clip, not a clip, but a newspaper clipping that I was going to show you. I get a lot of stuff from Gilad Atzmon, and I believe he shared this. If I'm struggling to get it on the screen, sorry folks. Yeah, here we go. 2025 saw a sharp drop in immigration to Israel, even as arrivals from Western nations surged. Total aliyah fell by a third as Russian immigration halved. So aliyah is the term used when a Jewish person goes to live in Israel, and it would seem that this has declined. French immigration rose 45%, while immigration from North America jumped amid skyrocketing anti-Semitism. So even though we're told that there's been a surge in anti-Jewish hatred, and many people have considered that would be a reason why Jewish people might leave Europe, might leave North America or Russia and go and live in the Holy Land, it seems that has not been the case. I wonder why. James Arnold is telling us that Jesus was black. Maybe he was. Would it make a difference to you, James? The racial category of Jesus? Is it not the message that matters rather than the colour? Rick is saying there's been a lot of hatred for Netanyahu administration, but not for Jewish people in general. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's going to feel different. Everyone's experience is going to be different, isn't it? If you've perceived that there's been a lot of hatred towards you, then that is your lived experience. But some people might misconstrue one for another. And Matthias is saying, no, bro, I'm black, but Jesus was not man. Okay, if he was not man, then how was he black or white or anything? What was he? Not man. Goodness. Are you saying that he was another species? I don't know. And Charlie is saying lols, right? Yeah. I don't know, guys. Look, Happy New Year to all. Really appreciate you joining me and contributing. This is freedom of speech. Anyone wants to say anything, I'm happy to discuss it on here. Ray M is saying, the Bible says that God is not man, God is not a man. For I am God and not man. Jesus is called a man many times in the Bible. There you go. Explain that one if you don't think Jesus is God. I'll just leave that hanging in the air. Thank you for joining me, ladies and gents. It's been Lessons for Life, first one of the year. More to come in 2026, inshallah. Thank you and good night.